In a suburban motel, a beautiful girl late at night led her childhood sweetheart into a room and seriously asked if he really wouldn't go up to Seoul with her. The boy, flustered, apologized, making Ji Kang-hee understand that a first love could not leave his family, his grandfather, to go with her. She unhesitatingly touched the boy's soft belly and asked, "You're over 100 kilos, right?" making Cheon Yeon-soo extremely embarrassed. Then Ji Kang-hee asked in all seriousness, "Sleep with me, okay? Don't you always think about me whenever you sleep?" The virgin boy covered his ears and said, "I can't hear anything." But Ji Kang-hee went on, "I know there are 3 condoms in your wallet." Cheon Yeon-soo jumped up and said, "You gave them to me and said they were advertising freebies from this motel, remember?" Kang-hee boldly suggested, "Let's use them tonight." The girl started searching Cheon Yeon-soo's body to find that cute square thing, but the boy sprang to his feet and announced he would leave. Yet Ji Kang-hee pulled Cheon Yeon-soo back and said, "If I disappear, you'll meet another girl and sleep with her, won't you? I want your first time to be with me. I'm sure this will be your first bean. If we do that together, the first time will be the most naive and clumsy experience." Saying that, the girl took the initiative to kiss the chubby virgin boy on the lips, making him feel fireworks in his stomach. When Ji Kang-hee asked, "Do you want me to stop?" Cheon Yeon-soo asked, "If I sleep with you, you won't leave, right?" But Ji Kang-hee still affirmed, "I will still go. I will go to a place where no one knows that I'm different." Cheon Yeon-soo said, "Everything on your face is beautiful." When the girl continued to ask, "Do you want to sleep with me?" the boy answered with action instead. After that, the two began taking off their clothes, and the virgin boy also took the initiative to undo the buttons on Ji Kang-hee's blouse. She wistfully looked at Kang-hee's warm face and said, "From now on, don't lose weight and don't take off your glasses in front of others." Cheon Yeon-soo no longer hesitated and used only kisses to cover the words of his first love. After the two had given each other what was most precious, Cheon Yeon-soo handed an envelope to Ji Kang-hee and said that her father had asked him to deliver it. Kang-hee opened it suspiciously and found a lot of money inside. Along with it was a handwritten letter saying that wherever she went, she must use contraception. The girl was so surprised she burst out laughing and said she hadn't expected that the accident with her back then had made her father worry so much. After that, Ji Kang-hee was quickly taken by Cheon Yeon-soo to the bus terminal, because that night she had decided to leave this rural town for a more glittering city. The last intercity bus finally rolled away slowly. Cheon Yeon-soo sat silently on the bench for a long time, while Ji Kang-hee pretended nothing had happened. She tried to act cheerful and stepped onto the bus. Realizing the girl he had pined for over so many years was about to leave, Yeon-soo gripped the can of soda Ji Kang-hee had given him and ran after the bus until that figure vanished into the first snowfall of 2013. Time slipped by, and 10 years later the once overweight Cheon Yeon-soo had transformed into a bona fide Prince Charming. He was now a veterinarian helping farmers with their livestock. Seeing that Cheon Yeon-soo still had no girlfriend, the cattle farm owner joked that as payment for today's help, he would set him up on a date. But Cheon Yeon-soo immediately refused. He said he already had someone in his heart. "Every weekend I go up to Seoul for her." When the farm owner asked what the girl's job was, Cheon Yeon-soo only smiled and didn't answer. At that time in Seoul, the girl from the story was at a construction site, and Ji Kang-hee was doing heavy labor to make ends meet. She was even teased and mocked by superiors there, just someone with a degree who couldn't do anything useful. But Ji Kang-hee was not someone easy to bully. The strong girl fought back and then angrily quit on the spot. Before leaving, she gifted the site manager a dainty middle finger. At that moment, a woman who had seen everything came over, struck up a conversation, and handed Ji Kang-hee a business card. The woman introduced herself as Hwang Jung-ji-yu, a site supervisor and the CEO of design company M. She asked Ji Kang-hee if she wanted to return to design work because she was in the field and knew Ji Kang-hee had once worked at a design firm but had her wages withheld and was blacklisted, leaving her unable to get a job anywhere and forced to do site labor. But Ji Kang-hee only refused the offer, saying, "My school isn't a top-tier one, so HR at moment already rejected my file. Please don't give me hope only to leave me disappointed again." However, Director Hwang pressed on, saying, "This time, Come under my name. If you're treated unfairly again, I'll stand up for you." Because of this persuasion, Kang-hee decided to try once more. She brought her project portfolios to the company with great confidence. But the receptionist there, upon hearing Ji Kang-hee's name, showed a bad attitude and whispered into the phone that Director Hwang, kicked out to a site, was still trying to haul in someone who had done manual labor. Each sneer was like a knife digging deeper into Kang-hee's heart. Angry at being looked down on, she grabbed her bag and left. While wandering the streets in a daze, Kang-hee vaguely saw the warm silhouette of Yeon-soo. She stared at that mirage for a long time as if drawing strength, then shouted, "I will return to that company because I am Ji Kang-hee." Then she resolved to go back to Company M, applied a sharp smoky eye, and wore a fearless aura to face the sneering receptionist. Kang-hee said confidently, "Director Hwang knows I'm just a blue-collar worker, but she's still curious about my ability and personally invited me here, so after today you'll know what I can do." With that, Kang-hee strode straight into the female director's office and found Hwang Jung-ji-yu vigorously punching a boxing bag to train. After settling down, she carefully examined Kang-hee's design file. Director Hwang expressed delighted praise for the girl's professional skills. She then took Ji Kang-hee to meet the head of design. But the man did not value a junior college education like Ji Kang-hee's and mocked her for having done manual jobs on site. Therefore, he flatly refused, saying he would prioritize an applicant returning from overseas study. Director Hwang was displeased and reasoned with the department head to trust her just once. She even said she would assign her own luxury villa project to Kang-hee. The department head reluctantly agreed, on condition that Ji Kang-hee serve as a short-term intern for 3 months, after which they would discuss based on her ability. Kang-hee was very surprised and valued this hard-won chance. She even shyly ran after Director Hwang and whispered, "Do you perhaps like me?" The cautious line made Hwang laugh, saying she simply valued talent and that her sexual orientation was toward men. Meanwhile, Cheon Yeon-soo was squeezing in holiday time to go to Seoul by habit, so much so that his close friend Ryu Han-woo complained, "Do you think going to Seoul diligently will make you accidentally run into Kang-hee? Seoul's population is 10 million. If you met her again, what would you do next?" Cheon Yeon-soo didn't know how to answer. The next day, Kang-hee followed the department head to meet the owner of the luxury villa project. This department head offered a neat proposal, planning to use expensive materials to assert status for the villa owner. By contrast, Ji Kang-hee objected, "Shouldn't we meet the people who will live in this villa? Why are we bending people to fit the house instead of shaping the house to fit the people?" Ji Seo-kyung, the young chaebol, heard that and immediately agreed. Because this house was a gift he wanted to give 2 friends, what Ji Kang-hee said matched his intention very well. But the department head was not pleased with that response, blaming Kang-hee for making things up and not understanding the company's workflow. Ji Kang-hee ignored the warning and insisted on staying to advise the client. While waiting, Ji Kang-hee even went with him to buy a cup of coffee. By coincidence, Cheon Yeon-soo was also in that cafe. He stared blankly at Ji Kang-hee's back for a long while. His best friend, upon hearing, hurriedly dragged Yeon-soo to run after her. But Ji Kang-hee's figure had already vanished. Kang-hee had returned to the villa. Only then did she learn the tangled ties between the young chaebol and that couple. It turned out Ji Seok-kyung had been engaged to the lady of the house, Esther. Having no feelings for his fiancée, he rebelled by leaving home. Thanks to that, Esther met her current partner. To bless the couple, Seok-kyung gifted them this villa. After grasping the situation, Ji Kang-hee began consulting. She listened to the owners, ideas, and tastes. She sketched in her mind the space they liked and truly needed. Esther, pleased, approved the concept at once. Kang-hee then worked day and night to finish the design. The department head disdained it. He bluntly sneered that Ji Kang-hee didn't understand the world of the rich. How could a mason know what class is? In the end, her design was officially rejected. Director Hwang was deeply taken with it, which sparked conflict. The department head retorted that Kang-hee's design looked like a B-grade motel, dated and tacky. He couldn't see why Director Hwang thought it beautiful. Ji Kang-hee happened to overhear. She walked straight in, took off her name badge and openly blasted him. "If I'm B grade, then you're just B grade." She said the pretty things in his library were the best parts stolen from others and copied out. She accused him of abusing his position to steal his team's designs. While stealing, he had also taken hers. After venting her anger, she flatly said she would resign. Later, amid the busy street crowd, Kang Hee again saw Cheon Yeon-soo's warm figure. This time, she only passed by coldly. She could not face it. She thought how she had abandoned everything back home only to become a lonely failure like this. Watching the snow fall sadly, she remembered her childhood. She had told Yeon-soo that if you ate a few snowflakes, you could marry your first love. Little Yeon-soo, delighted, seriously ate exactly 10 snowflakes and wished to marry Ji Kang-hee. Now, so many years later, Yeon-soo still ate exactly 10 falling snowflakes, still wanting to marry his first love. Not long after, Cheon Yeon-soo's grandfather passed away. At the funeral, many friends came to pay respects. Everyone talked about Kang Hee. Their old group guessed she would surely return because her relationship with the grandfather was good. Ryu Han-woo said it would be best if Ji Kang-hee did not come back. He didn't want Yeon-soo to meet that girl again, only to sow hope and then disappointment. Suddenly, the crowd buzzed. People said Kang Hee had returned. Yeon-soo, hearing it, hurried over and held tight the first love he had missed for 10 years. Ji Kang-hee, surprised by the body before her and wanting to push the person away, recognized Yeon-soo's voice and forgot to react. After saying farewell to Yeon-soo's grandfather, she quickly left without another word to him. Asking old friends, Kang Hee had gone far but still remembered the gossip behind her. The uncles and aunties said cutting things. As she grew, her mixed-race looks had faded. They wondered if her temper was still fierce. What if she went wild and fought? Back to the present, Cheo, Yeon-soo ran after her and stopped Ji Kang-hee. He hoped she would stay for a meal. After some thought, she agreed. She happily made up with her best friend Ah-rum, despite Ah-rum still being angry about Kang Hee leaving on her own 10 years ago. As soon as Kang Hee sat down, she heard a hateful guy nearby mock her and call their old group the Motel Gang. Unhappy memories flooded her mind. Back then, there was an orphan boy named Seong-an, who was always bullied by peers. Only Kang Hee, Yeon-soo, Ryu Han-woo, and Ah-rum stood up for him. The bullies were led by a kid named Hyun-jo, who even called Kang Hee a mongrel. The girl angrily wished lightning would strike him. Unexpectedly, heaven granted it. More than 10 years later, Kang Hee's refusal to swallow injustice hadn't changed. She calmly sat facing Hyun-jo and brought up how he'd been struck by lightning as a child. He feigned calm and probed about her current work. She handed over a Moment business card. She said she worked at the #1 company in luxury hotel design and that the venues he knew were handled by her firm. Hyun-jo sneered that people in Seoul were nothing special, glossy outside, cramped, and poor in life. Kang Hee shot back that it was still better than living off parents, knocking up a bar hostess, and dropping out. Hyun-jo was enraged and threw water in Ji Kang Hee's face. Not to be outdone, she upended her half-eaten noodles over his head and walked away. In a fit, Hyun-jo hurled a bottle toward Kang Hee. Luckily, Cheon Yeon-soo arrived in time and took the blow for her. He even decked the guy so hard the funeral turned chaotic. Yeon-soo's mother scolded Kang Hee for making a scene at someone else's funeral. He disagreed, saying the friend was at fault and Kang Hee had done nothing wrong. His mother, unwilling to argue, only forbade him from seeing that girl again. Evening had fallen, so Ji Kang Hee headed toward her family's Motel California. She stood a long time at the door without entering. Memories of the first snow of 2013 rushed back. Before going with Yeon-soo to the bus terminal, Kang Hee had looked back at this house for a long while. She murmured to her close friend that if she stayed at this motel, her future would grow as dim as it. Perhaps this place was good for him, but not for her. From then on, she would not return. In the present, Ji Kang Hee chose to leave her hometown that very night. she accepted a return to reality in a small, dark rented room. The next morning, Ji Kang-hee received a call from Jeom Seok-kyung. Esther was very satisfied with the design. Both of them wanted to meet Kang-hee to discuss more. Thinking the clients didn't know she'd been fired, Kang-hee quickly declined and hung up. Once she cleared her head, she remembered the drunken night a few days earlier. She had slurred a call to Seo-kyung to come over and even confessed, before the client, that she could design in the department head's style. But it was predictable and had no sincerity or character. She briefly regretted not doing that. After thinking it through, she felt her decision was right. She even laughed like a loon in front of Seo-kyung. Now, recalling her nonsense, she only wanted to crawl into a hole. Just then, Director Hwang called, wanting to see Kang-hee. When she reached the company, the receptionist's attitude had suddenly changed. Director Hwang brought big news. After Kang-hee resigned in anger, the department head invited Jeom Seok-kyung and Esther to the office to pitch his design. The two guests ignored it and praised Ji Kang-hee's drawings. They wanted to hire her as lead designer for their luxury villa. The embarrassed department head had no choice but to seek out Director Hwang to ask her to invite Kang-hee back, even promising to make her permanent. When he faced Ji Kang-hee, his attitude had turned 180 degrees. He timidly asked her to consider returning to Kang-hee, gently replied that she had recently realized life is short and she should work with people she likes. With that, she turned and left with cool flair. Even Director Hwang admired her. After that, Ji Kang-hee decided to seize the chance and, as a freelancer, sell her design to Jeom Seok-kyung. The young chaebol did not disappoint her and immediately paid a large sum. Though delighted inside, she firmly refused the money. She declared that her talent being recognized mattered far more than payment. This attitude won over the villa's mistress, Esther. Esther even wanted to be friends with Ji Kang-hee and invited her to the private wedding. A while later, back at her rented room, Ji Kang-hee received a call from her best friend Aram in their hometown. Aram cheerfully said she was coming up to Seoul and asked if she could stay overnight. Kang-hee, face unmoved, lied that she was going on a business trip and would not be in Seoul for some time. Though Aram did not expose her, she knew Kang-hee was hiding something. She told Cheon Yeon-soo that she had called the company on the business card and was told no employee by that name existed. Yeon-soo thought little of it. He simply believed Kang-hee had her own hardships and comforted Aram to be understanding. Not long after, Ji Kang-hee attended Esther's wedding. Seeing the beautiful bride in her gown made Kang-hee imagine herself walking the aisle with the groom beside her being Cheon Yeon-soo. When she awoke from the illusion, she stepped forward to bless Esther, then bid farewell and left. In the hall, she met director Hwang Jung-ji-yu, who told her she had officially left her old company and seriously wanted to recruit Kang-hee to her side. A little later, while she was still sketching space designs, she unexpectedly caught the eye of Jeom Seok-kyung. He politely invited her to the after-party that evening. Kang-hee quickly refused because it was not only Christmas but also a special day to her. Every year, her father would come up to Seoul to meet her for her birthday. He even merged his lunar birthday with her solar birthday and called it their father-daughter vow. Wherever they were, they must celebrate together. Startled from the memory, Kang-hee received a birthday call from Aram. She cheerfully thanked her and chatted a while, until the talk turned to Cheon Yeon-soo. Aram urged her to ask after him, even revealing he seemed to have a date that night. Kang-hee felt empty inside and decided at once to call Yeon-soo. A girl's voice answered. She cut the call in dismay. He too felt regret. Afterward, Kang-hee received her father's call. Happily, he reminded her that tonight would be the same as always, and he would send the address. Her mood being low, she wanted to refuse and lied that she would spend it with her boyfriend. He, knowing her nature, simply said if she had a boyfriend, she should bring him to meet him, then hung up. That evening, Ji Kang-hee went alone to the meeting place. By chance, she encountered Jeom Seok-kyung. After a while, as if realizing something, she asked him to pose as her boyfriend to shake off a man who wanted to claim her. He agreed, even letting her link arms like a real couple. Upon arrival, she regretted it at once because the man inside was none other than her first love, Cheon Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo immediately recognized the man as well. 10 years earlier, after Kang Hee left town, he had often gone to Seoul searching for her like looking for a needle in a haystack. He accidentally saw her working at a convenience store, arguing with the boss about unpaid wages. Guillaume Seo-kyung, then a passing customer, stepped in to teach the wicked boss a lesson. Soon after, Kang Hee also saw Yeon-soo, but her pride forbade weakness. She sternly told him never to come to Seoul looking for her again. From afar, Cheon Yeon-soo saw the man standing by Kang Hee and felt turmoil. He soon realized that in Seoul, all men looked handsome and cool. Even Ryu Han-woo said 2 bumpkins like them seeking Kang Hee must have made her embarrassed enough to drive them away. Thinking thus, Yeon-soo resolved to lose weight. He quit soda, threw away instant noodles and snacks, and exercised hard daily. Through his burning love, he changed from a chubby bear into a true Prince Charming. As time flowed to the present, with a dashing look, he thought himself worthy of Ji Kang Hee. Seeing her arm in arm with another man, his face hardened. Noticing his expression, Kang Hee quickly pulled Guillaume Seo-kyung away. The chaebol, confused, then smiling, gave his card to Kang Hee, inviting her to join his hotel design team. She said nothing and left decisively. Afterward, she angrily called her father. He awkwardly confessed that Yeon-soo had said he had something important to tell her. She coldly snapped that he had just destroyed their last birthday together and hung up. Meanwhile, Cheon Yeon-soo still sat alone in sorrow at the hotel. As he opened the door to leave, he saw Ji Kang Hee. She rushed into his arms, to his great surprise. Afterward, he made her a hot tea and sincerely confessed. He had eaten the first 10 snowflakes of the season and was ready for everything to be with her forever, even moving to Seoul to live with her. Kang Hee, flustered, avoided his gaze. When he offered her a necklace as a birthday gift, she petulantly said he should give it to his girlfriend. He affirmed he had no one else, that in his whole life he would only love her. Unable to deny her feelings, Kang Hee stood before the mirror, wearing the necklace. Her face unconsciously blushed. Cheon Yeon-soo drew near, gently held her hand, gazed at her with love, and leaned in to kiss her. Just then, his phone rang. The caller was his mother. As he answered, Kang Hee's eyes clouded with bitter memories of her old village neighbors, ridicule, even of Yeon-soo's mother. Her attitude suddenly shifted. She told him she now remembered why she had left home and why they could never be together. Ji Kang Hee quickly removed the necklace and returned it. Feigning strength, she told him to give it to his future girlfriend instead. As she turned away, Cheon Yeon-soo cried that if she left today, he would not wait any longer. She still walked on firmly. Outwardly cold, once in the lobby, she broke down in tears. She whispered that if one cannot take responsibility for another's life, one should not make them wait. Ji Kang Hee walked on alone into the cold night. As for Cheon Yeon-soo, he was at the police station posting bail for his 2 parents. It turned out his mother had been beaten brutally by her new husband, to the point the neighbors called the police to haul the man in. Yeon-soo's mother, still foolishly devoted, excused him by saying he was only like that when drunk, and that on ordinary days he was gentle and affectionate. Although Yeon-soo tried with all his might to persuade her, his words went in one ear and out the other. She still felt happy to be with that man. Another year slipped by. The poor rural village remained bustling and warm. Ji Kang Hee, alone in the cold of Seoul, curled up in her small rented room. On New Year's morning, she gnawed a dry piece of bread just to keep going. She then hurried to see director Hwang Jeong-ji-yu, who offered her a salary of 30 million won to join her company. Kang Hee was pleased, until she heard that the niche market director Wang wanted to target was motel design. Kang Hee immediately refused and walked out. No sooner had she reached the door than she called Guillaume Seo-kyung to ask about his offer to collaborate on hotel design. As luck would have it, he was nearby and had reached the same conclusion as Dyer, Director Hwang, about renovating motels. The two even planned to build a company renowned in that field. He asked why she would accept a hotel proposal but not a motel one. Kang Hee, displeased, said a hotel owner's son like him wouldn't understand. Only a motel owner's daughter would. She had grown up in a motel and knew too well how people looked at her. A motel wasn't truly a place to rest, but a place to hide and take cover. In the end, Kang Hee stood firm and refused to partner. By night, Kang Hee received a transfer of 50 million won from Giam Seok-kyung. Soon after, Esther herself stood at her door, wanting to talk. Later, in a cozy bar, Esther didn't bring up work directly, but focused on encouraging Kang Hee. She praised her successes and earnestly listened to the dreams burning in her heart. Kang Hee confessed she wanted someday to build a company bearing her name and have a pretty little house right beside it where she could enjoy a private space of her own. Esther replied with understanding. To make that real, she should choose partners wisely. Director Hwang had industry credibility and a strong name. Giam Seok-kyung had abundant financial resources. Esther herself would always be someone Kang Hee could trust. Finally, Esther offered from the heart. She hoped Kang Hee would build this company with her, not for anything else, but for her own dream. After Yeon-soo's grandfather passed, his mother hurried to put the hospital building up for sale. The family, hearing of it, rushed over to stop the sale at all costs. Yeon-soo ushered the prospective buyers and his stepfather outside. He told his mother he had promised his grandfather never to sell the building. She sighed that she needed money for living expenses, since she had given up the rental after the police station incident. Yeon-soo, helpless, asked her to move in with him. She refused on the grounds she had just married and couldn't live with her grown son. Yeon-soo yielded and told her to move in while he would relocate for the time being. He quickly packed and moved into Motel California. Meanwhile, Ji Kang-hee began a new career chapter. She joined a young design firm under director Hwang. She threw herself into contributing ideas and expertise with the team to lay the foundation for the long-nurtured dream. One day, Giam Seok-kyung and Kang Hee went together to survey an old motel for renovation plans. While examining the space, they unexpectedly witnessed a steamy scene, the hateful former classmate Heon-jo kissing a girl passionately in the elevator. As soon as he got back, Heon-jo gossiped about it to Yeon-soo's friends. He spiced it up by saying Kang Hee had gone into a motel with a strange man in broad daylight. He sneered that it was no wonder. Like father, like daughter, that family upbringing truly mattered. Hearing such filthy talk, Yeon-soo lost his calm. He grabbed Heon-jo by the collar and warned through clenched teeth that if he dared speak nonsense about Ji Kang Hee again, he would beat him senseless. Though he cowed the jerk, a heaviness still lingered in Yeon-soo's heart. In the days that followed, Kang Hee was assigned to manage a new project. Director Hwang entrusted her with major responsibility. Her passion surged until she learned the project's site was Han Hamlet, her hometown. All her positive feelings evaporated at once. In the days after, she tried every way to dodge the trip to Han. She even ignored Director Hwang's promise to double her commission. She made excuses about having an appointment to avoid talking further. From a distance, Giam Seok-kyung heard Kang Hee had an appointment and grew worried. He tailed her covertly, only to discover the date was with a woman, none other than Ah-rum. Realizing his mistake, he hurried over to help, even insisting on carrying Ah-rum's luggage into the house. Later, chatting with Ah-rum, Kang Hee shared that she was truly doing well now. The house was also the company dorm. She was one of the firm's co-founders. Ah-rum was glad for her and curious about the enthusiastic guy from earlier. She was sure he liked Kang Hee. Somehow the talk shifted to Yeon-soo. Ah-rum revealed he had met someone suitable, a junior from their school, and that they might even be thinking about marriage. Kang Hee tried to take it in stride, though her eyes could not hide her sorrow. Back in Han Hamlet, Yeon-soo, at the junior's request, Nan-woo, was teaching her to drive a pickup. During practice, she nearly collided with an oncoming car. She shook too hard to get out of the driver's seat. Kind Yeon-soo lifted her out to calm her. At that moment, Ji Kang-hee and Giam Seok-kyung stepped from the opposite car. Seeing Yeon-soo holding another girl, Kang Hee gave a cold smile, turned quickly away, and left with reddened eyes. Not long before, Kang Hee had had a haunting dream. Yeon-soo held a grand wedding with that junior. She saw clearly the girl only eyeing Yeon-soo's assets. In the panic of the dream, Kang-hee lunged to yank the girl's hair, only to wake and find she was clutching Ah-rum's hair. Realizing she still cared deeply for her first love, Kang-hee went to the company and asked to take the Han project. It happened that director Hwang was injured and couldn't consult on site. Kang-hee seized the chance and officially took the job. She and Giam Seo-kyung set off for Han. They swiftly transformed into fashion stars in designer outfits and drove a gleaming supercar back to the hometown. Getting into the car, Ji Kang-hee carefully warned Giam Seo-kyung never to call her by her name. Being tactful, he decided he would call her boss for the whole trip. They soon reached Han Hamlet. Kang-hee was stunned to realize the destination was her own family's Motel California. Surprised as she was, she kept her calm. She hurriedly shielded herself and pretended to know no one. Yet how could a father fail to recognize his beloved daughter? Ji Chun-pil stifled a laugh and betrayed nothing. Then Giam Seo-kyung spoke first as representative. He proposed a bold idea to erase the boundary between motel and hotel. Just turn off the dim letter M in motel, and the new brand would be Hotel California. Kang-hee proposed building a rooftop pool and moving the live music bar from the basement up there. Hearing this, Ji Chun-pil was deeply moved. The designs his daughter described were the childhood dream of father and daughter. Though he had almost forgotten, Kang-hee remembered it perfectly. He shook hands with his daughter, deciding to award the project to her company. Kang-hee said nothing and quietly stepped outside. Fragmented memories surged back. Back then, Ji Chun-pil would switch off the neon M in motel, saying his greatest wish was to build a hotel. When the M was off, people would only see hotel, and in that moment there was no distance between motel and hotel. Returning to the present, as the lead on the Boomera Motel project, a new build for Ji Chun-pil's family, Kang-hee and Giam Seo-kyung visited the site in person. The site lead suggested they stay across the street at Motel California, praising it as nearby, clean, with a great breakfast. Kang-hee shook her head, saying it would be inconvenient to be so close, and they left at once. Driving to another lodging, they nearly collided with an oncoming truck. Looking closely, Kang-hee saw the man stepping down from the opposite vehicle was Cheon Yeon-soo. He was carefully lifting the girl in the driver's seat out to calm her. Kang-hee forced herself to be strong. She opened the door, faced Yeon-soo with a cold smile, and turned on her heel. Yeon-soo instantly set the girl down and hurried after Kang-hee, asking what had brought his childhood sweetheart. Here? Kang-hee answered bluntly that she would be here for work until Christmas. She told him not to reveal her return to anyone, then left heavy-hearted. Watching Kang-hee walk sadly along the road, Giam Seo-kyung perceptively realized Yeon-soo was her first love. Kang-hee replied that he wasn't merely a first love. He was the one who had saved her life. Memory pulled her back to grade school. She had been bullied until one day Yeon-soo transferred into her class. Seeing the sturdy round boy from afar, she thought he could help her stand up to the bullies. She asked to sit with him. That's how their bond truly began. When they were older, Yeon-soo confessed. From the first day they shared a desk, he had liked her all the way until now. Even if he knew he was ugly and lacking, he would try to improve. Kang-hee pinched his cheek and told him he wasn't ugly or lacking at all, calling him a silly bear. Looking back, Kang-hee thought that if not for Cheon Yeon-soo, her life, at 10 or 20, would have been a mess. Giam Seo-kyung, hearing this, spoke from the heart and joked he'd track down the old bullies and settle the score. She laughed in spite of herself. Though Kang-hee had told Yeon-soo not to breathe a word about her return, Han was tiny, and news flashed like lightning. The salon aunties chattered and wildly guessed she had come back because of Ji Chun-pil, since the Boomera Motel was his family's enterprise. The salon owner marveled at how quickly Ji Chun-pil had risen. Whoever married Kang-hee would be blessed. Yeon-soo's mother raised an eyebrow in silence. Ah-rum gleefully spilled that Kang-hee's boyfriend was even more impressive. A foreign-educated, handsome heir to a luxury hotel chain in Seoul. The onlookers gasped. Meanwhile, Kang Hee and Geum Seo-kyung were struggling to find lodging after a long day on site. Though they had been in Han for days, every place was a headache. Musty blankets, metallic-smelling shower water, or lodgers so noisy it was like a market. Geum Seo-kyung finally dared suggest they try Motel California. Kang Hee stubbornly refused, saying she'd rather drink rusty tap water than set foot there. At Motel California, workers whispered about the new supervisor, strict but generous with bonuses for good work. Hearing this, Cheon Yeon-soo knew it was Ji Kang-hee. Ryu Han-woo wondered if the man with her was her boyfriend. He hoped not, since rumors said the guy was a gambling addict who frequented drug dens. The words only deepened Yeon-ye's unease. After hours, Kang Hee slipped into Yeon-ye's veterinary clinic to meet the Dr. Nan Yu. She had to admit the girl was beautiful. Nan Yu, thinking Kang Hee was there to consult about adopting a pet, served chrysanthemum tea. She mentioned that the owner, though he never drank tea, often bought expensive chrysanthemum tea for a certain friend. Kang Hee understood that the friend was her. Nan Yu went on praising Yeon-soo as a reliable man one could lean on. Staring at a photo of Yeon-soo and Nan Yu at the clinic gate, Kang Hee fell silent a long time. Her eyes slowly filled with sorrow. Just then, Yeon-soo was driving his pickup behind Geum Seo-kyung's car when he saw Seo-kyung stop to rescue a puppy stuck in a grate. Yeon-soo came to help and promised treatment. He then asked Seo-kyung if Kang Hee wore glasses to hide bruises. Seo-kyung laughed that Kang Hee wasn't the sort to swallow humiliation. By his reaction, Yeon-soo understood Seo-kyung wasn't as bad as rumor made him. Back at the clinic, Nanu happened to show Yeon-soo a video of a customer petting a cat. Recognizing Kang Hee in it, he rushed to the site to find her, but she wasn't there. When he asked Aram, she revealed nothing. In fact, Kang Hee was hiding in a bar, drinking and thinking about Nanu. To be fair, the young doctor had nothing to fault ND suited Yeon-soo well. At that thought, Kang Hee could only drink and weep. At the same time, Yeon-soo, replaying the cat video, got word that Kang Hee was at a bar and went there at once. She was dead drunk, collapsed asleep on his lap, fumbling to find a comfortable spot. He had to fight to keep himself in check. That night, having no choice, he carried Kang Hee back to Motel California and tucked her in. When she clutched his shirt and begged him not to go, he stayed by her side. Drowsy-eyed, Kang Hee pinched Yeon-soo's cheek again, calling him a silly bear. She scolded him for breaking his promise. Why had he lost weight, taken off his glasses, and gone on dates with another girl? Yeon-soo, hurt, scolded her back for seeking another man. Geum Seo-kyung, meanwhile, was beside himself when Kang Hee didn't return. He searched everywhere, even rushing to the police to file a report. On hearing she'd been brought to Motel California by a gang, he panicked even more and sped there, shouting to have her released. Seeing this, Shan Yeon-soo hastily explained that this was Ji Kang-hee's home and that Ji Chun-pil was her father. Hearing that left Geum Seo-kyung half-stunned, frozen in place for a while. The next morning, Ji Kang-hee woke with a heavy head. She flushed scarlet, remembering the foolish things she'd done the night before. Opening the door, she froze to see Geum Seo-kyung slumped outside her room. It turned out he'd done that out of worry for Kang Hee, since there were men all around. After that, the two went down to breakfast together. When the workers and Geum Seo-kyung had left, Kang Hee stayed to chat with her two close friends. She listened to the changes at the motel over the years she'd been away. After work, Geum Seo-kyung took Kang Hee to Cheon Yeon-soo's veterinary clinic to check on the dog he'd helped the day before. Yet Kang Hee's eyes kept drifting involuntarily toward Yeon-soo and the junior doctor Nan Yu. She learned the kitten at the clinic was named Kang Hee, a name Yeon-soo had chosen to echo hers. Kang Hee left in silence with an indescribable sadness. On the way back, Geum Seo-kyung blurted that Yeon-soo and Nan Yu made a lovely couple. Hearing that, Kang Hee felt terribly aggrieved. She headed to an ice cream shop to cheer herself up. But fate cornered her. She ran into Yeon-soo and Nan Yu happily buying ice cream together. Kang Hee hurried to hide, seeking a quiet corner to remember the sweet moments with Yeon-soo 10 years ago. Back then, the one teasing and choosing ice cream with him was Kang-hee. The one who pouted at him was also Kang-hee. She stood, left, and found a secluded spot to cry. Crying, she scolded Yeon-soo as a meanie. Who was it who once said that from then on, whether tubs or scoops, he'd only eat ice cream with her? Just then, Yeon-soo suddenly appeared. Kang-hee, aggrieved, said he had really changed. As Yeon-soo stepped toward her to explain, Kang-hee forbade him to follow her. But sensing something was wrong, Yeon-soo still trailed her quietly the whole long way. When Kang-hee turned back, Yeon-soo hurriedly ducked away. Yet when she didn't see Yeon-soo behind her, she felt even more disappointed. She grew sad and began to regret the parting words she blurted back at the hotel. At that moment, Seok-kyung came looking for her. Seeing Kang-hee in tears, he took his limited edition sunglasses and put them on her. Thanks to Seo Kang-hee, at last Kang-hee stopped crying and smiled. But from afar, Yeon-soo felt a pang of sorrow. Back at the motel, Yeon-soo set the ice cream box he'd bought that morning on the front desk. He asked the clerk to pass it to Kang-hee. Talking to the cat Kang-hee, Yeon-soo said that before, only he could coax Kang-hee into a good mood. But now it seemed different. Why did she say he'd changed when all this time he'd been waiting only for her? As he stepped out, his friends brought a shirt bearing Kang-hee's name and told Yeon-soo to put one on, because that night Ji Chun-pil and their friends planned a welcome party for Kang-hee. Soon the staff had rolled out a red carpet. Friends cheerfully welcomed Kang-hee home. Sitting with her old friends, past memories unfolded before Kang-hee's eyes. In the old days, she always stood up to anyone who dared bully her friends. She even treated her friends like a second family. So the people of Han Hamlet were used to calling them Kang-hee's gang. Now Kang-hee asked after each grown-up friend in turn. When it was Yeon-soo's turn, he seemed very content with his life. He felt inheriting his grandfather's veterinary clinic was profoundly meaningful. Friends asked Kang-hee about life in Seoul. She hesitated, dodged the question, and wanted to leave. Then Ah-rum took the chance to remind Yeon-soo that Seok-kyung was by Kang-hee's side now. If Yeon-soo wavered, he might suffer because of Kang-hee for a long time to come. Kang-hee also told Seok-kyung about her past, that 10 years ago she'd left home for the capital. She scraped by doing all sorts of jobs to test into a junior college. Back then, she thought she was living fully for her dream. But seeing her friends settled at home now, she felt she alone was the loser. Seok-kyung shouted loudly to cheer her up. She had already lived very well. It made Kang-hee laugh despite herself. The next day, Nanu got a call from a client asking her to treat their cow. With no experience with large animals, Nanu was utterly flustered. On top of that, she couldn't drive the pickup. Luckily, Kang-hee was nearby and stepped in to help. She even volunteered to drive Nanu there. When they arrived, the farm owner grew very anxious at the apparently inexperienced doctor. Right then, Yeon-soo appeared and worked smoothly with Nanu to handle the issues. Driving back, Kang-hee couldn't help recalling the happy moments between the two just now, which only left her more dejected. Then she happened to see a billboard for the upcoming beef festival. Back at the hotel, Kang-hee shared her worry with Seok-kyung. Once the festival began, the country road would be temporarily closed, and the concrete mixers wouldn't reach the site, delaying construction. She added that she wanted the site finished quickly so she could return to Seoul. But Yeon-soo happened to overhear that. He could only grumble inwardly. What was so wonderful about Seoul anyway? After hearing from Ah-rum, Yeon-soo and his friends learned of Kang-hee's dilemma. To help her, Yeon-soo convened a village meeting to persuade everyone to change the festival venue. He even promised a month of free veterinary care for the village's cattle. After winning the village over, Yeon-soo went from farm to talk and persuade each owner. Kang-hee had no idea Yeon-soo was working for her sake. She too went farm to try to get the festival moved. One of the owners was an old acquaintance of Kang-hee's. In the past, he had said nasty things to her face, that her father wasn't some lowly country motel keeper. He chose to live as he did because of her. He'd even turned down the mayor's daughter and the county chief's heiress to marry a nobody like her mother. Those words had enraged little Kang-hee. So to get back at him, she once found a way to lock the uncle in a storehouse. Even now, he still nursed that old grudge. This time, he demanded compensate him and kneel to apologize. Kang Hee was at a loss. Suddenly, Cheon Yeon-soo appeared and stepped in. He pulled Kang Hee away, but Kang Hee refused his help and snapped that she disliked him because he knew all her past and all her wounds, that just seeing him brought back painful memories. Just seeing Hai made the unhappy memories hurt again. It wasn't only Yeon-soo. Guillaume Seok-kyung also helped by persuading the Seniors Association. He volunteered public funds and sponsored the celebration after the beef festival ended. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo and the crew met with traffic police and posted notices of the venue change. With that, things were essentially settled. Kang Hee was very grateful to her friends. At the beef festival, Nanyu appeared arm-in-arm with Yeon-soo's mother before Kang Hee. His mother lavished praise on Nanu, calling her a gentle, quick-witted girl. People around them said Yeon-soo and Nanu were a match made in heaven. Present, Kang Hee forced a smile and congratulated Yeon-soo and his mother. Yeon-soo's mother also assumed Gun Seok-hyun was Kang Hee's boyfriend, and congratulated her on finding her destined one. Seok-kyung started to explain, but Kang Hee pulled him away. After that, she asked Seok-kyung to pretend to be her boyfriend until the build was done. But Seok-kyung refused and set a condition. As the festival ebbed, Yeon-soo tried to approach Kang Hee to clarify things with Nanu. But Kang Hee didn't seem willing to listen. She cut him off. She spoke of the neighbors who smiled blessings to their faces, yet treated them with cruelty and malice. Right then Nanu appeared, bright and guileless. She chatted with Kang Hee like close sisters. She even hugged her tightly to thank her for helping days before. Kang Hee, flustered, excused herself. Inside, she kept thinking of Nanyu's innocent manner and felt unbearably sad. She thought that perhaps Nanyu was the one truly right for Cheon Yeon-soo. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo was tormented by it all, and it turned out he had already spoken seriously with Nanyu, asking her not to work at the clinic with him anymore. Rumors about the two were spreading everywhere, but Nanyu refused. She even said they should keep pretending to date a while longer, so she wouldn't have to listen to nagging about blind dates. However, Cheon Yeon-soo did not want that. He said frankly that he already had someone in his heart and was waiting for her. As the festival neared its end, Yeon-soo's mother discovered her newlywed husband being intimate with another woman. Furious, she flipped a table and cursed him on the spot. The husband refused to back down and hurled insults in return, and the scene grew chaotic. Villagers crowded around to watch. Ji Chun-pil also stepped forward to intervene. The sight happened to catch Ji Kang Hee's eye and, unbidden, made her recall her own mother's frail face from the past. Later, speaking privately with her father, Kang Hee could not help asking why, whenever it concerned Yeon-soo's mother, he always meddled. 20 years ago it was the same. He kept thinking of that woman. What about me, my mother, and the sibling of mine who never got to be born? But her father said nothing, just as before, and remained silent. Carrying her sorrow, Kang Hee returned to the motel. The clerk brought her a cup of ice cream, without a word. One spoonful in, she realized only Cheon Yeon-soo would have bought her that specific TH flavor. With that thought, Kang Hee went to Yeon-soo's room at the motel. His room was covered with childhood photos of the two of them. There was even the warm teddy bear that Kang Hee had once hated and wanted to sell. Looking at it, memories from years ago surfaced. Before leaving for Seoul, Kang Hee had asked Yeon-soo to sell the teddy bear that Ji Chun-pil had given her. The money, she said, could be used to help abandoned animals. Back in the present, realizing Yeon-soo had likely never wavered, Kang Hee ran everywhere to find him, and with hopeful eyes she asked why he kept treating her so well. Was it because he still liked her? To her surprise, Yeon-soo said quietly that being good to her was the only thing he could do. If she didn't want it, then consider this the last thing he would do before he stopped liking her. He asked her to give him a little time to forget her. After that, Kang Hee returned to the motel alone. Angry, she tossed the ice cream box Yeon-soo had bought into the trash and told herself their relationship was truly over. Why keep clinging to a love that had already faded? That evening, Kang Hee accepted Ah Rum's invitation to a class reunion at a restaurant. Word had it her nominal boyfriend Jeom Seok-kyung had generously paid for the whole party, and he had even left his unlimited black card before departing. In the noisy reunion, the classmates let loose with mockery, taking turns belittling one friend for going on countless blind dates without finding a decent man, or a petite librarian who kept chasing degrees from master's to doctorate. For what? Their close friend Seong-on sitting nearby couldn't stand it and stood up to pull Ah Rum away. Kang Hee felt no better. Weary, she wanted to leave at once. But when she returned to the motel, she found Yeon-so's mother there with Nan-woo and the villagers, all abuzz over her son's marriage. Already upset, Kang Hee sought a quiet spot outside to steady herself. As she drifted in thought, Nan-woo and Yeon-soo came out. The junior greeted Kang Hee warmly and cheerfully, but Kang Hee didn't reply and slipped straight inside. On the way to drop Nan-woo off, the junior unexpectedly urged Yeon-soo to go find Kang Hee, saying she could see Kang Hee was the one he kept in his heart. Meanwhile, Kang Hee was still angry, muttering complaints as she cleaned the bathroom. Though she knew she'd been wrong, she thought, Yeon-soo had liked her for 20 years. How could he not endure a few months apart? It had been so hard for her to stand on her own in Seoul. If he would agree to come to Seoul, of course she wouldn't hesitate to start over with him. Yet he liked Nan-woo. Just then, Yeon-soo returned to the hotel. Hearing Kang Hee talking to herself next door, he hid outside the door to eavesdrop, but the clerk noticed, so he slunk back to his room. Until midnight, she kept talking. And in the next room, Yeon-soo thought she was on the phone confiding in a boyfriend. Irritated, he pictured Kang Hee holding Seok-kyung's arm and introducing him as her husband, while Yeon-soo was just someone from Han Hamlet, paired with the junior Nan-woo, unrelated to Kang Hee. And in his imagination, Seok-kyung even fought him to win Kang Hee. Startled awake, Yeon-soo realized he'd had a ridiculous dream. The next morning, Kang Hee sought out Seok-kyung to return the bank card and told him not to do that again. Seok-kyung cheerfully said that the day before he had spun a story. He told him she had been very successful in Seoul, and he had pursued her tirelessly, and that if she agreed now, he would be ready to marry, the result being that their faces went red with rage, and, satisfied, he said that this time her boyfriend had helped her take revenge. It turned out Kang Hee had asked Seok-kyung to pretend to be her boyfriend, but Seok-kyung didn't want to pretend. He wanted to be Kang Hee's official boyfriend until the project ended so the two could have a fair relationship, so now he wanted to take his official girlfriend out, but she only said she was very busy and declined. After that, Kang Hee searched out the mementos Yeon-soo's grandfather had left her. Though he was Yeon-soo's grandfather, to her he was like her own, and every scrap of paper and line of writing carried the love and blessings he had given her. Carefully, she put them away in a box, then went to the clinic hoping to see Nan-woo. However, Nan-woo seemed shy and evasive, stammering that perhaps the answer Kang Hee sought wasn't with her, so Kang Hee asked Yeon-soo directly about Nan-woo. She wanted to know whether Nan-woo had grown up in a happy family full of love. Yeon-soo nodded without hesitation and said that was likely so. Then Kang Hee asked Yeon-soo to visit her grandfather's grave with her. At the grave, Yeon-soo poured out, "Hi," his heart. Over the years, he could endure every pain and grievance, except where Kang Hee was concerned. There, he could not hold back his feelings. Kang Hee sincerely shared that she had come today to fulfill a promise to her grandfather. She took out a box with a pair of rings and told Yeon-soo it was a gift her grandfather wanted to give him. It turned out that 10 years earlier, Yeon-soo's grandfather had given the rings to Kang Hee, hoping she would pass them on to Yeon-soo's future girlfriend. He had hoped his granddaughter-in-law would be a smiling girl raised in a loving family. Now Kang Hee admitted that her true reason for coming was not the hotel project, but to see whether Yeon-soo's girlfriend met the criteria her grandfather had set. Looking at the junior Nan-woo, Kang Hee thought that perhaps a cheerful, lovely girl like her truly suited Yeon-soo. As for me, perhaps I could never become that kind of girl. Saying this, Kang Hee forced a smile and turned away, but tears fell despite her. Perhaps her first love had truly ended here. Kang Hee's words pained Yeon-soo deeply. Memories tangled in him. From the image of Kang Hee leaving Han Hamlet 10 years ago to her present look of pain and torn feelings, every happy and sad moment of Kang Hee surged into Yeon-soo's mind. He sprang up. He ran after her. He hugged Kang Hee tightly from behind. He apologized that only now he truly understood the rift she had borne all these years. Afterward, Ji Kang-hel confided that no matter how hard she tried, she could never become the kind of granddaughter-in-law her grandfather had hoped for. That was one reason she kept trying to push Yeon-soo away. Realizing the rings were the root of it all, Yeon-soo decisively hurled them into the river. Kang Hee, alarmed, dashed into the water to retrieve them so she could give them to Nanu. Yeon-soo hurried to stop her and admitted he had no feelings for Nanu. In their struggle, Kang Hee lost her balance and fell into his arms. She then shoved him into the river. Both of them ended up soaked. On the way back, Yeon-soo took off his coat to wrap around Kang Hee. He began explaining that the rumors about him and Nanu were only village gossip. When Kang Hee was back in her room, she couldn't help smiling at his explanation. She was certain now that the one in her heart did not have a girlfriend. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo gazed at an old photo of the two of them. He tried on the goofy smile the little girl in the picture wore. The next day, Kang Hee was startled to see director Hwang Jong-ji-yoo appear at Motel California. She was even more surprised that Hwang wore beautiful heels despite just having her cast removed. Hwang said she would be meeting a man named Ji Chun-pil. Kang Hee was speechless, as Hwang added that she had once given the man's elder daughter a warm teddy bear. At that, Kang Hee was floored. She then tried every way to badmouth the man called Ji Chun-pil, saying his identity was nothing to boast of and begging Hwang to reconsider. But in Hwang's eyes, Ji Chun-pil had always been a classy, romantic gentleman. Then, Jem Seo-kyung revealed the truth. Hwang learned they were father and daughter, which shocked her too. Angry, Kang Hee went home intending to throw the teddy bear out. Yeon-soo suddenly appeared and stopped her. In her fury, Kang Hee poured out the old wound. Because they couldn't find Ji Chun-pil that night, her mother was taken to the hospital too late and miscarried. She still remembered that horrifying night. From then on, she called her father by name, seeing him as a philandering, irresponsible man. She even told Yeon-soo, "Do you know the woman beside my father on the night my sibling died was your mother?" She could forgive neither her father nor his mother. After that, she decided to return to Seoul with director Hwang. Yeon-soo stood in his room, hesitating and helpless, as he watched the woman he loved pack up and leave. Back in Seoul, Kang Hee felt like a freed bird. She was more at ease than in Han Hamlet, yet her mind still circled the name Yeon-soo. He was no better, staring at childhood photos with Kang Hee, heavy-hearted. Meanwhile, Geum Seo-kyung stubbornly stayed at Motel California. He even phoned Kang Hee in front of Yeon-soo, pretending to chat intimately. In the days that followed, Kang Hee sat through meetings in Seoul unable to focus. A talk with Esther unlocked something for her. Feelings that outlast love are friendship. It was the enduring bond, like the childhood friendship between Esther and Seo-kyung. So Kang Hee decided to return to Han to meet Yeon-soo. She seriously proposed that, instead of trying to forget only to miss each other more, they should just be friends. Then she took out a box of ice cream, saying she wanted to share it with him as friends. A moment later, Yeon-soo stepped into the room. When Kang Hee reached for her spoon to eat, she awkwardly told him to use a different one. Friends don't share a spoon for ice cream. Yeon-soo suddenly bent down and kissed her. He asked if she could really be just friends when he could not. Then he deepened the kiss. Kang Hee didn't push him away. She accepted it with both body and heart. Just then, her father's familiar voice sounded outside. "My precious daughter of Ji Chun-pil, open up for Dad." Panicking, Kang Hee pushed Yeon-soo to hide and hurriedly straightened the room. While she was talking with her father, Geum Seo-kyung suddenly showed up and tried to barge into Kang Hee's room. She quickly dragged the young chaebol away. The intimate scene with Yeon-soo replayed in her mind. She worried whether he was angry. When she returned, he was already gone. He sat in the next room, thinking of Kang Hee and the searing kiss. Just then, Kang Hee called to arrange a meeting, and they chose the rooftop. There, Yeon-soo asked again whether Kang Hee could be friends with him. Surely that kiss answered it. But Kang Hee insisted a kiss was nothing, and they could still be ordinary friends. She asked whether, after that night, he had never done that with anyone else. Yeon-soo replied helplessly that, had he known she would leave, he would never have slept with her. Did that first time mean nothing to her? Kang Hee argued that then and now were different. Once construction finished, she would leave and he would remain in Han, so they should stop. Yeon-soo, defeated, agreed. In the days after, whenever they met, Yeon-soo deliberately turned away. When Kang Hee went to his clinic saying she was there for chrysanthemum tea, he coldly brewed it and told her to drink up and go. She left crestfallen. When she noticed he had gone out without a scarf, she thoughtfully bought one and hung it on his door. She found it returned to hers. She pounded on his door, scolding him for rejecting someone's sincerity. He snapped that she should give it to her boyfriend. Looking like a hurt child, he refused to say more and walked off. The next day, Dr. Nanyu came to the site asking Kang Hee and Gaem Seo-kyung to help build a pen for a newly arrived donkey. The moment Seo-kyung appeared, Yeon-soo bristled. The two men slipped into a silent contest, from competing over who would saw the wood to endless barbed remarks. Kang Hee stepped in. She quickly designed the pen and, with proper tools and technique, finished it neatly and fast. Nan-woo was stunned. Kang Hee only smiled and said she had spent years learning so she could one day build a home with her own hands. Of course, in that future house there would be a living room reserved for Yeon-soo. Instead of melting the ice in his heart, Yeon-soo replied coolly that perhaps one day he would bring his wife and children there. Kang Hee was furious. She took Seo-kyung's arm and lied that they had a date. Then she left. As night deepened, Yeon-soo drifted through childhood memories. Kang Hee had once drew a house in the snow and promised to build a shelter for them both, with a room just for him. The sorrow sent him to drink. There he spotted Jeom Seo-kyung at a table with a stranger. The two were casually feeding each other. Yeon-soo, unable to hide his irritation, marched over to ask who the woman was and whether Kang Hee knew about the relationship. Esther, sensing the misunderstanding, explained that they were only friends. She had a family and was expecting her first child. The news surprised even Seo-kyung. He swept his dear friend into a hug and offered congratulations. After Esther left, Gaem Seo-kyung and Yeon-soo kept drinking. They argued over who truly treated Kang Hee better. Seo-kyung declared that whatever Kang Hee wanted, he could make it happen. Yeon-soo scoffed that the one who wasn't always by her side yet still thought of her was the one who truly cared. Whenever he went to a temple or a church, he prayed for Kang Hee's happiness. Seo-kyung shot back that her happiness couldn't be handed to the gods. He would deliver it himself. He added that Kang Hee hated people knowing her past, a weakness Yeon-soo could never overcome. The quarrel raged until both were drunk. In the morning, Seo-kyung awoke, shocked to find himself hugging Yeon-soo on the same bed. Both swore nothing improper had happened. Once calm, Seo-kyung suggested they be friends. After a pause, Yeon-soo shook his hand. In his heart, he still saw Seo-kyung as the rival. Together, they went to the construction site where Kang Hee was working. Yeon-soo told her the two of them should be friends, like Seo-kyung and Esther. He even offered his hand. Seo-kyung cheerfully drew Kang Hee in so they could shake, and wished their friendship would last forever. Meanwhile, Dr. Nanyu unexpectedly received a bouquet and concert tickets. The sender was written as Yeon-soo. Worse, the concert theme read, "Will you marry me?" Nanyu fretted to Aram that perhaps Yeon-soo saw her as a stand-in. When Yeon-soo learned about the bouquet and tickets, he went straight to his mother to demand why she had done it. She breezily said she needed him to speed things up. She was about to remarry. He could only leave, helpless. That night, Kang Hee ran into Nanyu and learned the flowers were from Yeon-soo. She forced a smile to congratulate her. Turning away, she couldn't help punting a roadside can. On her way back, Seong-on, who had meant to give flowers to Ah-rum but lost his nerve, handed the bouquet to Kang-hee to dispose of. Just then Yeon-soo appeared, eyes fixed on the flowers in Kang-hee's hands. He started to turn away until she called him back. She chided that he had never once bought her flowers. After a beat, she reversed herself. Better not give her any, or his girlfriend would be jealous. The next day, the build went smoothly. Kang-hee decided to return to Seoul for a few days. On the bus, she happened to see Yeon-soo, who said he had errands in the city. They chatted shyly. Yeon-soo asked how Seoul felt. Kang-hee sighed that to her it was like a stale cookie with no flavor. She recalled the cookie peddler back home they used to worry over in every season: rains that soaked the biscuits, fine dust that spoiled them, summer heat that turned them bad. Seoul now felt like a soggy monsoon biscuit. As the bus rolled out, Kang-hee dozed onto Yeon-soo's shoulder. He gently settled her there. Waking, she promised she would find a way to repay him for the borrowed shoulders so they would be even. He answered, "Then show me, around Seoul. Start with your company." When they got off and took the subway, Yeon-soo navigated it better than Kang-hee. They ate dinner as friends. When she tied up her hair, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Afterward, Kang-hee invited him to see her dorm in Seoul. Proud, she showed the warm, spacious room. She had worked so hard, from damp half-basements to this, and wanted him to see it. Yeon-soo stroked her head. She had suffered and still weathered all 4 seasons of that stale cookie city. "Moved," Kang-hee whispered. "If we're friends, can friends kiss?" Yeon-soo said nothing. He then gently pushed her back. "Friends don't kiss. That crosses the line." So she proposed they drink like friends. At the convenience store, her eyes snagged on a box of condoms. Back at the dorm, Yeon-soo noticed a dead bulb and phoned, hesitantly asking her to buy one. Kang-hee, misunderstanding, grabbed the condoms, marveling at their telepathy. She then learned he had meant a light bulb and, flustered, claimed she had thought he wanted cup noodles. Yeon-soo ran out to buy the bulb himself. His gaze also lingered on the condom box. Returning, he replaced the bulb as Kang-hee watched, her heart fluttering at his pronounced Adam's apple. Then he pulled out a flashlight, sat by her on the sofa, and suddenly asked, "Do you want to sleep with me?" She flashed back to her farewell 10 years ago, when she had asked him the same. Realizing he was teasing, she pinched his cheek like old times. After the playful moment, Yeon-soo ducked into the bathroom, telling his reflection they were just friends. A few drinks later, he tugged Kang-hee close, and murmured that if she liked the old him better, he would gain the weight back. She boldly ran her hands over him. Back then, this was all soft. He leaned in to kiss her. She slipped away with an excuse to use the bathroom. When she emerged, she found Yeon-soo passed out drunk on the floor. She was exasperated. In the morning, Kang-hee woke him with a scowl. Yeon-soo, sitting in the bathroom, berated himself for getting too drunk to take one more step toward the woman he loved. Later, at breakfast, they ran into Gangnam Seok-kyung. He was baffled to see Yeon-soo at Kang-hee's place and guessed they had slept together. Yeon-soo even admitted it on purpose. Kang-hee quickly explained they were both pure as snow. Still uneasy, Seok-kyung went to confide in Esther. When she heard he was jealous of Yeon-soo, she only praised Yeon-soo. Cool, handsome, solidly a man. Provoked, Seok-kyung vowed he would win Kang-hee's heart. After breakfast, Kang-hee got into the car alone. Yeon-soo had other work. As she settled in, he tapped the window, drew her back out, and said he wanted to linger in Seoul one more day with her. "I want to see whether, if I had come to Seoul with you back then, things might have turned out differently." Back home, Cheon, Yeon-soo's mother, received a text from her son saying he couldn't attend the concert with Nanu. He sent Nanu the same. Panicking, she rushed to the veterinary clinic and learned he had gone to Seoul the day before. She then hurried to the site and found that Ji Kang-hee had also left Han yesterday. In Seoul, Kang-hee took Yeon-soo to the cramped basement room where she had once lived through her hardest days. The two lay on the tiny bed. Kang-hee, on the edge, nearly fell when Yeon-soo caught her. On that narrow mattress, they held each other like lovers. The landlord knocked, making them sit up and awkwardly hide their feelings. After touring the neighborhood, they went to a mall and played every game. Yeon-soo won with ease. He gifted Kang-hee a cute teddy bear. They took cheerful photos together. Joy was cut short when Ah-rum's call came through in Yeo, In-soo's mother's voice, scolding Kang-hee, forbidding her to be with her son and demanding the phone. As Kang-hee fumbled, Yeon-soo coolly declined the call. Yeon-soo's mother then went to Ji Chun-pil to accuse him. Why had his daughter seduced her son? Hadn't she warned him years ago to keep Kang-hee's mother from meeting her husband? He had trusted they weren't like that. Yet the two ran off together in the night. If not for that, she and Yeon-soo's father would have been happy. Ji Chun-pil frowned, then apologized, saying it was all his fault. The couple's brief Seoul getaway ended quickly. Kang-hee fretted over the mother's anger. Yeon-soo steadied her, promising he would explain everything. When they stepped off the bus, the mother charged as expected. Yeon-soo pulled her back to shield Kang-hee. The next day, Nanu discovered the bouquet and tickets had been sent by Yeon-soo's mother and felt a pang. She asked Yeon-soo to clarify their relationship. He, embarrassed, begged for time until Kang-hee finished the job and left the village. He said he didn't want the villagers to blame Kang-hee for their breakup. Meanwhile, at Motel California, Yeon-soo's mother wailed to Ji Chun-pil that she didn't want the kids dating. People in Han would gossip. Why should Yeon-soo endure this? Ji Chun-pil gently asked how, if she cared so much, she had dumped all care of the grandfather on the boy. Did she know, while she was busy divorcing again and again, that he had taken multiple leaves from school to tend his ailing grandfather? She flared that he had promised, when Yeon-soo's father died, to let her live her life and he would care for the grandfather. Was his guilt for marrying a flirt to blame? Wasn't that girl Kang-hee just like her mother? Ji Chun-pil snapped that she was a mother. While outsiders gossiped, parents should show understanding, not stab the kids with words. Did she think the kids were less torn up than she was? How long would she keep being capricious? Rumors about Yeon-soo and Kang-hee swept the village. A neighbor advised Ji Chun-pil to stop them. Send Kang-hee back to Seoul or marry off Yeon-soo's mother elsewhere. Hyun-jo's nasty friend even rallied people to side with the mother and filed complaints that Kang-hee's site was noisy, getting the project temporarily suspended. With tensions high, Kang-hee planned to return to Seoul. Before leaving, she met Yeon-soo's mother for a serious talk. She was insulted at once. "You're unlucky to be that woman's daughter." Kang-hee snapped back that if her mother had stolen the woman's husband, then she, Kang-hee, would steal her son. Yeon-soo appeared and whisked his mother away to keep Kang-hee from being hurt. That night, Kang-hee sat alone in a park until Seo-kyung found her. He offered a box of fruit and said, "Use me to make a rumor big enough to drown the one you're facing." Heavy-hearted Yeon-soo remembered his father's accident. Kang-hee was there. She fainted at the horror. The next day, he invited his mother to eat. She thought he'd come around. He recalled those days when Yeon-soo's father and Kang-hee's mother took the kids out like friends. He admitted he'd always preferred Kang-hee's mother's character. He confessed that as a child, he had wished Kang-hee's mother were his own. He liked her more than his mom. Because of that, growing up, he let his mother trample his feelings. He refused to follow Kang-hee to Seoul. He called the strangers his mom brought home dad. He did it as punishment he owed for not truly loving her. Now he felt the debt was paid. He would go back to Kang-hee. He would not be just friends. He ran to find Kang-hee. He pulled her into an alley. He kissed her deeply. He sakas. Anade. Let's date. I've lived so everyone around me could be happy. This time I'll follow my heart. Now I'll make only you happy. Warmed by the words, Kang-hee laughed and kissed Yeon-soo. She held him tight. Later, blissful, she returned to the motel. She remembered something and hurried to call. No one picked up. The person she called was Seo-kyung. He was busy planning a grand proposal. Flustered, Kang-hee texted Seo-kyung, yet couldn't find the words. When Yeon-soo came, she told him, I accepted Seo-kyung's engagement necklace. Earlier, the Chibol had given her a necklace. He asked her to accept it so he could stage things and keep construction moving. She'd thought sparking a rumor was harmless. She agreed. Hearing it, Yeon-soo smiled and kissed Kang-hee. He was glad to know she and Seo-kyung were only working together. He kissed her again. He was happy for their day one, but Kang-hee pouted that it wasn't official yet. When Seo-kyung returned, she would give the necklace back. Then they could officially start. Yeon-soo, unhappy to wait, still squeezed her hand. He agreed. The next morning, they kept trading secret looks. Seo-kyung called and asked Kang-hee to come somewhere. Stepping out of the motel, passers-by handed her roses. They directed her onward to a place lined with red carpet. Crowds buzzed. Sensing trouble, Kang-hee tried to bolt. A boy stopped her and led her to Gaeum Seo-kyung. He was singing his heart out amid applause. Before the starstruck crowd, he dropped to one knee. He produced a ring. He proposed to Ji Kang-hee. He even circled the scene with a fleet of trucks and city buses. He amped up the spectacle. Yeon-soo stood beside Kang-hee. He was left speechless. That night, Yeon-soo stopped by a jeweler. He showed the design of the necklace Gaeum Seo-kyung had given Ji Kang-hee. He asked if they had anything like it. The owner only shook his head. Copying that piece would be costly. If he was thinking of buying it, he might as well buy a house. Yeon-soo left dazed. He was strangely fired up. He threw himself into work day and night. Even Dr. Nanu thought he'd been rattled by Seo-kyung's mega proposal to Kang-hee. That evening, Seo-kyung, having learned what happened, met Yeon-soo for drinks. He pressed him. How could the man who vowed to be Kang-hee's friend for life change his mind? Yeon-soo said he'd tried and couldn't. He wanted to be the one who protected Kang-hee when she was sick. Someday, he wanted a daughter as lovely as Kang-hee. Hearing the sincerity, Seo-kyung fell silent. He drained his glass. He promised to step back. The condition was that Yeon-soo never hurt her. Yeon-soo returned to the motel delighted. He told Kang-hee everything. She admitted she'd told Arum. Up on the rooftop, Arum had already shared it with the rest of their close friends. Though surprised, they all supported the decision. The next day, while the couple went on a date, the friend group turned themselves into accidental bodyguards. They tried to shield them from prying eyes. Tender moments were still photographed. They reached Seo-kyung. He couldn't hide his sadness. Esther saw his mood and hurried to comfort him. How could Kang-hee pass up someone as wonderful as you? He laughed that however wonderful he was, she didn't need him. Esther, for once serious, confessed she disliked arranged marriages. That didn't mean she didn't like him. She even spoke to the baby in her belly. Your mom's first love is heartsick. Cheer him up. Okay. Then she took him to the mall for baby things. There, Seo-kyung spotted Esther's husband being affectionate with a woman. They were even buying newborn items. He stormed over and punched him. Esther ran up and explained the woman was her husband's cousin. The husband was smug. He slung an arm over Seo-kyung's shoulder. He warned that he, not Seo-kyung, should be close to his wife. Back in Han Hamlet, Yeon-soo and Kang-hee slipped away for a private date. He made her a yogurt breakfast. It made her glow. He said he didn't want to sneak around anymore. Let's face the curious stares and hold hands openly. She smiled and agreed. After that, they went to a jeweler to choose rings. Yeon-soo said, pick the most expensive. But Kang-hee chose a simple band. They slid them on each other's fingers. They took photos. Two neighbor ladies promptly witnessed it. They rushed to tell Dr. Nanu. They clucked that Yeon-soo had put horns on her. Nanu repeated there was nothing between them. It had only ever been rumors. Later, the pair returned to the motel. Kang-hee did not want to go back alone. She tugged Yeon-soo's hand and drew him into her room. She hurried to turn off the light to do something meaningful. Yeon-soo was shy and worried about being caught. He flicked it on. A knock came right then. Arum arrived with her mother. They asked Kang-hee to put her up for the night. Once settled, they all shared their hidden burdens. Arum was exhausted by her mother's refusal to divorce until she saw her daughter married. Yeon-soo confessed his mother hadn't contacted him in days. Seong-on was glum that his own mother had ditched him at the motel. Kang-hee Riley said her mother left her there and later died. Warmth and hugs eased the room. Kang-hee called her father. She caught director Hwang Jianggu's voice faintly on the line. She sighed. She did not know her father was in the hospital. Hwang was visiting. Ji Chun-pil returned to his ward. He forced a smile at a neighboring patient laughing with his daughter on the phone. His own heart felt hollow. He remembered his wife long ago. After several silent days, Yeon-su's mother was escorted home by a polite man. He handed Yeon-su his card. He said he'd simply run into her and brought her back. When Yeon-su asked who the man was, she wouldn't answer. She was still angry. Soon Kang-hee had to slip back to Seoul for a few days. She clung to her boyfriend and said she didn't want a minute apart. In Seoul, she met Seo-kyung and formally returned the necklace. Though he masked his hurt with coolness, Kang-hee later told Esther. Esther said she thought this time Seo-kyung had truly fallen. She'd never seen him like this. Then, Kang-hee drove Esther home. In the parking garage, she caught her husband kissing that same cousin. Esther filmed it. The shock threatened the baby. Kang-hee rushed her to the hospital. Meanwhile, in Han, neighbors urged Ji Chun-pil to rein in his daughter. She'd accepted a grand Seoul proposal yet snuck around with Yeon-su. Yeon-su's mother came too, demanding he forbid the pair. Ji Chun-pil coolly agreed that if Kang-hee had a rich Seoul boyfriend, she should accept and live well. Why date Yeon-su and be the village's target? After all, his daughter was a top designer in Seoul. What good was a rural vet to her? The jab left Yeon-su's mother speechless. That night, when Kang-hee returned from Seoul, Ji Chun-pil asked a solemn question. If he said he wasn't dating director Hwang, could she break up with Yeon-su? She was stunned. Shortly, AF. After he met Yeon-su privately, he said he knew Yeon-su loved Han while the girl did not. He didn't want them to suffer. They shouldn't live too hard. Hearing the disapproval, Yeon-su told Kang-hee. She chose not to care. They would go to Seoul together. Before leaving, she ran into Yeon-su's mother. The woman wept and spat venom. You'll be punished by heaven like your mother. That jab jolted Kang-hee back to the photo she and Yeon-su had looked at days before. It was the one from childhood, with Kang-hee's mother and Yeon-su's father in it. Kang-hee had smiled then and said she'd wished his father were hers. He always made her mother laugh. Yeon-su had admitted he'd felt the same. As they said it, guilt welled up. Maybe from that moment they had been accomplices to those two. Now Kang-hee asked, were we right to do that, Yeon-su? On the way to Seoul in the present, Ji Kang-hee was in turmoil. She even imagined an accident ahead and urged Xian Yeon-su to stop. Flustered, he failed to react to an oncoming car. The vehicle jumped the curb. At Motel California, Ji Chun-pil got an urgent call from the hospital. Both Yeon-su's mother and Kang-hee's father rushed over. Thankfully, Yeon-su was fine. Kang-hee had only fainted from fright. Seeing her lying there, Yeon-su's mother kept slapping her own mouth. She blamed herself for jinxing the kids. Wake up, child. Don't worry, everyone. Kang-hee opened her eyes soon after. Ji Chun-pil took her back to the motel. He sat by her bed all night to watch over her. She asked why he hadn't come that day. He said, remorseful, that he hadn't been able to because of an important promise. He said he was sorry. He had been too young. Later, sitting alone, Ji Chun-pil remembered over 20 years ago. He knew his wife and daughter were waiting to leave Korea for her hometown in California. He was busy trying to recover money he'd been swindled out of. It was money meant to get his wife home. The two waited into the night. They were unaware that Ji Chun-pil had been jailed for disorderly conduct. He missed the rendezvous. In Kang-hee's memory, one night more than 20 years ago, she saw Yeon-su's mother sobbing. Curious, she and her childhood friend Yeon-su slipped after her father's car. They saw the bodies of Yeon-su's father and her own mother. Now, remembering, blurred images of herself fleeing the scene of her mother's accident flood back. She realizes there was much she had forgotten. Hearing this, Kang-hee went out at dawn. Yeon-su hurried to find her. When he did, he exhaled in relief. Kang-hee asked if this was where he had once come looking for her. That made Yeon-su's face tighten. He denied it and pulled her into his arms to comfort her. Ah Rum found the arrogant man before her intolerable. He claimed to be busy, yet came to her workplace to invite her to eat. Because she disliked his attitude, she flatly refused. He rudely tried to drag her into his car. Just then, Seong-gon appeared and intervened. He said he would take her away. Ah-rum confided in Kang-hee that she had no feelings for her blind dates, yet her father kept forcing her to marry successful men. Kang-hee advised her to push back, as she and Yeon-soo had done. So Ah-rum decided to take Seong-gon home to meet her mother. Unexpectedly, Ah-rum's mother slapped her without a word. She then turned on Kang-hee. How could she, dating a hotel heir, encourage Ah-rum to be with an uneducated orphan who did manual labor? Seong-gon, rather than argue, apologized and left. He was downcast and self-effacing. That night, Kang-hee sought Seong-gon out. She hugged him to comfort him. She asked whether he wanted to go up to Seoul with her. He firmly refused. Then he recalled his childhood. Years ago, Seong-gon had been abandoned at Kang-hee's family motel. He was so old he still had no birth registration or official name. There was only a note saying someone would return. At the police station, Ji Chun-pil decided to take the boy in. He would give him a home until his parents returned. From then on, Kang Han-hee treated Seong-gon like a younger brother. Now remembering, Seong-gon shook his head. He said he had to stay and wait for his birth parents, however distant the hope. He then took out a treasured photo. It showed him with Kang-hee's mother when he was small. She had told him to call her mom. That moved Kang-hee. She now regretted refusing to take pictures with her own mother when asked. At dawn the next day, Kang-hee and Yeon-soo were again sweetly wrapped up in each other. She said she would head up to Seoul that day. She mentioned Guillaume Seo-kyung. She said it was thanks to him she had more time to stay. Yeon-soo, jealous, asked whether she'd wavered at Seo-kyung's public proposal. Kang-hee teased that she had. Yeon-soo, more jealous, threatened that if she didn't hurry back, the day she returned he would stage a public proposal too. The two introverts burst out laughing. Back in Seoul, Kang-hee kept scolding Seo-kyung for his recent mistakes at work. After probing, she realized his distraction wasn't about her but Esther's husband. Seo-kyung said he had investigated. He found the cousin was actually an ex-girlfriend. He didn't know how to tell Esther. He feared the shock. Only for Kang-hee to say bluntly that Esther had known for a long time. That left him even more at sea. At her dorm, Kang-hee cleaned and found the teddy bear under the sofa. As she reached for it, the scene jolted a memory she had lost for years. In a flash, the past returned. Little Kang-hee stood before her saying, "Your teddy bear went missing the day your mother died." With that, all the painful memories surged back. The next morning, Kang-hee went to the funeral home to visit her mother. Tears fell as she looked at the portrait. She remembered that when her mother could no longer wait for her husband, she took her daughter back to the motel to sleep. In the night, the girl tied one end of a yarn string to her mother's ankle and the other to her own so she wouldn't be left. By morning, the yarn had slipped off. Her mother was gone. After that, she saw her mother speaking privately with Yeon-soo's father. Afraid of being abandoned, Kang-hee stuffed a teddy bear into the tailpipe of Yeon-soo's father's car. Thinking the accident was her fault, she ran. She was finally found by Yeon-soo in a remote spot. The shock made her gradually forget. Now that she remembers everything, Kang-hee can only weep before her mother's portrait. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo, hoping to surprise her, quietly came up to Seoul. He arrived only for Kang-hee to break up with him. Seeing her reddened eyes, Yeon-soo didn't ask why. He said he would wait until she was ready to tell him what had happened. Kang-hee, heartsick, went home. She sat staring at the teddy bear a long time. That day, Ji Chun-pil dressed sharply and cheerfully asked Seong-gon to take an ancestral portrait of him. Seong-gon laughed that he was still dashing. Why a memorial photo? Ji Chun-pil countered that an ancestral photo would be what Kang-hee looked at most. He wanted one, while he still looked good. Seong-gon, snapping pictures, found himself in tears for no reason. Later, Kang-hee returned to the motel. Hearing music from her father's room next door, the melody tinged with nostalgia, she slipped in and sat quietly. Sensing her darkness, Ji Chunpil came close and said, "I'm sorry for everything." Kang Hee burst out, "Why did you and Mom decide to have me if neither of you wanted a child at first?" Ji Chunpil chuckled that he'd never heard a sillier question. Did she know his band had once been famous? He'd given up that beloved band to return home and work so he could live fully for the two of them. His deepest regret was making her lose her mother. Angry, Kang Hee said, "Then before I'm ready to accept your apology, and before I dare to apologize, you have to live to 100. She shoved the door and left. That day, Kang Hee met Yeon-soo's mother to apologize. "Because of me, you've carried this weight all these years, please forgive me." The woman looked around, thinking she was on a hidden camera show. But Kang Hee's sincerity this time so surprised her that she was left speechless. Ji Kang Hee went to see Cheon Yeon-soo. The moment she tried to say the words "let's break up," Yeon-soo cut her off and refused. He said he wanted, for once, to be the one to confess. If she vanished from his life, he'd lose himself too. His life's goal was to be number one in Kang Hee's heart. He had already crashed once when he couldn't follow her to Seoul 10 years ago. He would not let it happen again. Before he could finish, Kang Hee broke down. She sobbed out the truth. Back then, her mother had planned to run away with his father. She had stuffed a teddy bear into the car's tailpipe. His father's accident was her fault. She had killed her mother and his father. She had robbed him of a whole family. She had made her own father suffer. She was a murderer. Yeon-soo, reeling, begged her not to say that. She choked out, "Yeon-soo, I love you," and turned to go. He chased her and seized her. He swore he would stay and wait for her return. Yet Kang Hee still walked away. Alone, Yeon-soo went back to Motel California. The desk clerk asked him to help take Ji Chunpil to Seoul. The destination proved to be the General Hospital. Director Wang Jung-ji-yu was already there. When the nurse called Ji Chunpil's name, Yeon-soo followed. He heard the shock. Ji Chunpil had cancer, worsening. Chemotherapy was the only path to improvement. In Seoul, Kang Hee went straight to a church and confessed. She had killed her mother and Yeon-soo's father. She had then forgotten it for 20 years. She loved Yeon-soo. Could God forgive her? Ji-hum Seo-kyung, beside her, was stunned but silent. When they stepped out and Kang Hee said she would surrender at the police station, Seo-kyung stopped her. She had been a child. The teddy bear and wrecked car were long destroyed. How could she be sure she'd done wrong? Whether punishment or pardon, Yeon-soo should decide. Why keep running? Just then, Yeon-soo happened to meet director Hwang. She told him she had met Ji Chunpil 3 years earlier. He was already on his 12th round of cancer treatment. Years before, she too had undergone tumor surgery. They had reconnected through a classic film club. They walked together and vowed to be upbeat fellow patients. She even suggested they act as each other's hospital guardians. But Ji Chunpil shook his head. He didn't plan to go on with treatment. All her pleading had failed. Now she asked Yeon-soo to persuade him. When Yeon-soo urged keep treating it, Ji Chunpil still refused. He made him promise not to tell Kang Hee. He said he'd done nothing for her all these years. Now that she was finally happy, he wouldn't add to her pain. So Yeon-soo could only lean on his shoulder in helpless comfort. After days of turmoil, Kang Hee sought Yeon-soo. She even went to his clinic. But Dr. Nanyu said he'd gone off somewhere. Maybe he went to interview for a veterinary research post in Seoul. Kang Hee called, but Yeon-soo didn't answer. He was out with Ji Chunpil. Meanwhile, Ah-rum met Seong-on to apologize for her mother's insults. She added that only a middle school diploma could be changed. She had a teacher's certificate. She could help him prep for the high school equivalency. Then, shy, she left him to think it over. Lately, Kang Hee had been adrift at the site, until workers said the village vet had returned to Han. She ran to find Yeon-soo, but with Ji Chunpil's warning echoing, "Don't tell Kang Hee," he avoided her. He said he was swamped. That sent Kang Hee to confide in Seo-kyung. She asked if Esther was really going to America. The chaebol nodded. Hello. To help Kang-hee, Seo-kyung went to the clinic and told Yeon-soo a lie. Kang-hee was about to study in the US with Esther. Yeon-soo leapt up to stop her from running. He dragged Kang-hee to the police station. They requested the accident report from over 20 years ago. The officer, a former classmate, agreed to help. While they waited, they wandered and talked. Yeon-soo told her that if his father's fate truly came from her, then she owed it to his father to care for him. She mustn't run. Whatever the conclusion, just hold his hand. She wept and then smiled in relief. He draped his coat over her shoulders. When her hand slipped into the pocket, she found a hospital slip. She anxiously asked if he was hurt. Yeon-soo said it was for a friend kicked by a horse. He'd simply accompanied him. Kang-hee believed him. She made him promise never to hide anything or push each other away for any hardship. Elsewhere, Esther met director Hwang to suggest finding her replacement. She might return to the US. But Seok-kyung appeared and stopped her. Why run when the wrong was her husband's? Don't abandon the baby, Esther cried. Was he telling her to stay in Korea and raise the child alone? Seok-kyung said she had everything. She had looks, brains, strength. She only lacked judgment about men. He could help her choose so she could love and still be herself. Back in Han, the police handed Kang-hee the old report. The crash had been a snow-slick pileup with chain collisions. It was unrelated to any teddy bear stuffed in a tailpipe. At last, she let the burden go. Yeon-soo held her tight. After that embrace, Yeon-soo took Kang-hee to his mother to introduce her as his girlfriend. His mother, shackled to the past, could not accept her. She shouted that beyond the elopement with Yeon-soo's father, what she hated was the teddy bear. How could a 10-year-old do that? One slight against her mother, and she shoved a bear into the exhaust. Did Kang-hee know she'd been too terrified to drive for years? With all questions finally answered, Kang-hee dropped to her knees. She bowed and begged Yeon-soo's mother for forgiveness. After that, she slipped away quickly. The curtains on those long-ago memories were finally drawn back. In the falling snow, Kang-hee seemed to gather the little girl inside herself into her arms. Sorry for ever saying your birth was a mistake. Sorry for not loving you. I promise everything will get better from here. Back at the motel, she pushed open her father's door. She sat beside him and soothed Ji Chun-pil. Please put Seong-on on the family register so he becomes my younger brother and truly has a home. Chun-pil agreed. He said he'd wanted that for a long time. He then half-joked that if he died one day, the two of them would split his assets. Kang-hee, pouting, retorted that he'd better hurry up and spend it all before he was allowed to die. Then she happened to notice a pile of medicine in his room. When she pressed him, he waved it off as supplements. When she asked Yeon-soo, he also lied that he knew nothing. Uneasy, she went to her room and searched online. She discovered they were all cancer drugs. Suspicious. The next day, she tailed Yeon-soo and Chun-pil to a nursing home. A former classmate showed her the portrait wall for the departed. He said her father had been doing those portraits to leave people beautiful images of themselves. He had recently handed the work to Seong-on. That only deepened Kang-hee's doubts. When she then saw her father filling out admission paperwork to move in, she refused. She angrily told him to come home. With no other choice, he told the truth. He had cancer. That left Kang-hee stunned and scolding Yeon-soo for hiding it. Yeon-soo simply got in the car with her and drove straight back to Seoul. There she pretended to be fine and ate heartily, yet tears kept falling as she said the Pollock had always been sent under Arum's name. But the real sender was Chun-pil. She'd known and taken it for granted without a single thank you. Now, thinking of all her father had done, she sobbed that he always looked so maddening. What would she do if he died? Yeon-soo held her and, weeping himself, told her to spend the time now so there'd be no regrets. The next day, she returned home. She forced a bright smile. and asked to accompany her father to the hospital and care for him through chemo. Sensing her gloom, Chun-pil joked that she'd have to get in line. Lots of people were waiting to take him. That made her laugh through reddening eyes. She added she wouldn't object to him and director Hwang Jung-ji-yu anymore. That made Chun-pil chuckle without explanation. The following day, director Hwang met Kang-hee and urged her to trust the nation's doctors and trust her father to beat the illness. Kang-hee smiled that she supported their fellow patient bond. That night, she trimmed Yeon-su's hair. His eyes were soft with the hope every day could be like this. They spoke of the nursing home he wanted to enter. Kang-hee refused. She said Motel California would feel hollow without him. They plotted together to persuade Chun-pil to stay. Later, they stumbled on Seong-won and Ah-rum officially together. At the vet clinic, they found Dr. Nan-woo and Han-woo in a budding maybe. The air was thick with love that made everyone smile. Meanwhile, Esther went on blind dates, arranged by Gaeum Seok-young. He lurked to track the progress. When one man walked out, because he couldn't accept a single mom, Seok-young, flustered, wanted to upgrade her options. She shook her head. She would follow fate and not force herself. He agreed. The next day, Kang-hee heard her father meant to sell the motel and drove back to Han. Chun-pil had left a letter with the clerk telling everyone to leave the motel and freely find homes of their own. That sent Kang-hee into a flood of childhood memories as vivid as yesterday. The day after, a realtor came to assess the place and talked about gutting the whole thing. Kang-hee furiously threw them out. She then visited her father in the hospital and, seeing him lying quiet, could barely contain her pain. She forced a smile and asked why he wanted to sell. The question pulled him back to the words he'd once told the clerk. He feared clinging to the memories and not being able to let go. He feared wanting to keep living and burdening caregivers. He feared that if the building remained, after he died, Kang-hee would wrestle with inerasable memories there. In the present, he only lied that he might not be ABL. To care for himself, much less the motel, Kang-hee refused. "Let me take it over," she said. "I'll renovate it into a senior home so you can stay." Moved by her sincerity, Chun-pil gladly agreed. From that day, Kang-hee dove into designing the elder care home. She worked day and night to finish fast. As she prepared that build, the BM Jang Motel project she led was completed. Seo-kyung admitted he'd used their dating. Kang-hee laughed that she'd known. His heart had only Esther from start to finish. The outsider could see it, while the two inside were lost. The next day, Seo-kyung and director Hwang's firm held the opening of the new motel. Kang-hee wept with joy to see a project she'd shepherded finally done. After that, the once whispering neighbors changed their tune. They called her dutiful and sharp and praised Ji Chun-pil for having such a splendid daughter. She felt as if she'd traveled far, only to finally come home. Old friends who had teased her came to the party to praise the architecture and apologize for past scraps. That day was Christmas and Chun-pil's birthday. Kang-hee and her friends celebrated him. Suddenly, he twirled once and toppled, frightening everyone. He then sincerely thanked the precious people in his life. "Especially my son and my daughter. You two are my treasures." Kang-hee rushed into his arms, wishing he could be as happy as today every day. While the others watched the snow at the window, she tugged Yeon-su out back. Imitating him, she ate 10 snowflakes in a row. She wished to stay by her first love for life. Beneath the white sky, they cuddled warm on the snow house they'd sketched together. They shared a sweet kiss. The film ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to support us. See you in the next videos.